Hi, aviation operations students. Welcome to week 3. I'm still using the roundabout way of going from Zoom to YouTube to MSU, so please apologize for any lack of quality in this. We've got a few things to talk about this week, so let's go ahead and get started. Our topic for this week will be aviation operations management. But before that, I got feedback from students on classroom expectations, and no one expressed any concern with the rules, so we'll go ahead with the same rules as fall 2020. Remembering to keep political opinions out of everyday conversation, we will be discussing some current events, and so make sure that you're respectful of others' opinions. Show interest in the topic, ask questions. That's how you get to deeper understanding. And whether that is asking questions in an office hours, via email, posting them in a discussion, I will try and make sure I get answers to you. Show kindness and patience, and I appreciate the patience you've shown me. I continue to have technical issues. All of us, the reading assignment may be posted a little late because my teacher's version of my book expired at noon on Sunday, just as I was about to put the reading assignment up. So we will get that worked on. Be forgiving. We all learn from our mistakes. You generally have a chance in this class to redo things. You are responsible for your own work. If you work in groups, make sure that everyone's taking turns participating, because if one person's doing all the work, it could lead you down a rabbit hole. Sometimes I see the same students having the same wrong answers on every single quiz and exam, and that tells me that's a group that's not functioning well. And also when it comes to your check rides and your knowledge tests, the others are not going to be there. So you need to know this information. And don't get behind in class. If you're struggling, if you're getting frustrated, be sure to reach out to me and I'll do what I can to help you. And remember that when we are synchronous, such as office hours, mute when you're not speaking, be aware of your background. We really don't need to see your dirty underwear. Wait your turn to speak. Raise your hand. There is an icon if you want to be called on and you're not getting an opportunity to speak. And clap or check the agree icon to express your support. And above all, respect the thoughts, opinions, and outlooks of others. So I put a few of the comments here. The big thing is we have these rules. You guys have agreed to them. Those that have chosen not to provide input, that was their choice. And so I'd like you to remember these are the rules that we operate by. Be kind and respectful, pay attention, and hopefully we will have a good semester. So on to the beginning of our topic today. One of the things we need to understand is the scope of the aviation system. And so the air traffic by the numbers is a document that I had you look at, and it's a good one to have as a resource as we go along. And the purpose of having you look at that document was, one, to make sure you could get FAA.gov documents. And the other is to understand the scope of the national aviation infrastructure that you are becoming part of. Over 16.4 million flights handled by the FAA yearly, about 45,000 a day. Now, these are pre-COVID numbers. These are from 2019. Over 10 million passenger flights scheduled yearly. 5,400 aircraft are in the sky at the same time at peak operational hours. Over 5.3 million square miles of domestic airspace and 24 million square miles of oceanic airspace around the United States. 520 airport air traffic control towers. About half of those are federal and half of those are contract. And 19,633 airports, about a quarter of which are public. 21 ARTCCs, 14,000 plus air traffic controllers. 3 million passengers fly in and out of US airports daily. And as one student noted, that's 3 Montanas worth of people. Over 167,000 fixed wing general aviation aircraft, plus over 10,000 rotorcraft and over 34,000 experimental light craft. Over 25.5 million general aviation flight hours annually and 44.5 billion pounds of freight each year. And almost 11 million US jobs generated through aviation. So it's a big part of our economy. 5.2% of the US gross domestic profit and $488 billion annual earning from aviation. And I know you all hope someday that you're part of those earnings. In addition to that, we have the 19 US orbital commercial space launches licensed by the FAA. And then the fact that the US National Airspace System is the safest transportation system in the world. But that comes with caveats, as many of you noted in your facts that you posted. These were the most commonly shared. Across all centers, losses of standard separation rose 14% in 2019. But runway incursions were down. And the really good thing about the runway incursions that none were in category A serious incident in which a collision was narrowly avoided. So that was nice to know. So that gives you kind of an idea of the size of the pool that you're jumping into. So now we're going to move on and look at management functions in aviation. If we're going to look at our operations, in order to understand them, we need to understand the management functions that are involved in those operations. Most management functions fall under one of these four categories. Planning, short-term and long-term. That can be planning what you're doing tomorrow. It can be planning what you're doing for the next quarter, or it can be your 5, 10, 15, 20-year goals. All of that is planning. Organizing, deciding what your priorities, your goals are, what resources you have and what resources you need to match those priorities and goals. Directing, leadership, modeling, delegating, and inspiring. Whether you are a leader or you someone simply modeling appropriate behavior, that is important. And controlling. And controlling is often the financial aspect or the measuring aspect. So evaluating, it can be evaluating performance, it can be evaluating procedures. It can be measuring things like fuel use or number of hours flown and making corrections as needed. So one of the things we're going to look at today is some of the common management errors. Failure to anticipate industry trends. So we talked a little bit about that at the end of last week. So if you make a guess and you buy a whole bunch of stuff because this is where the industry is going and that isn't where it's going, you could have a whole lot of useless something left over. Lack of priorities. If you cannot prioritize your businesses, your services, your resources, that will be a problem. Indecisiveness. You need to make a decision and you need to have systems and procedures to make sure things are following the rules. Poor time management. And that can be your time management as a manager or a leader, or it can be wasting the time of your staff doing things that aren't very important or giving them too much to do. Poor communication skills. If you cannot let people know what you need from them and they can't tell you what they need from you, you're not going to be very efficient and effective. Lack of personal accountability. The business needs to be accountable to make that happen. Every person needs to be accountable for their actions, for their area that they're in charge of. And the biggest one often is failure to develop, train, and acknowledge people. If you put someone in a position and you leave them there and you don't ever train them or help support them, they're most likely going to go someplace else. Failure to support company policy in public. This does not mean that you can't disagree with company policy, but generally when a company puts forward a policy or a statement on something that happened, you are expected to agree with that in public. Failure to acknowledge and accommodate people's work styles. If people have specific work styles, if they can work from home and there's no reason for them not to, let them. If they have a way that they organize their workspace that works for them, don't tell them they have to do it differently. Failure to focus on profit. And that isn't that profit is the only thing you look at, but if you lose sight of making sure that you're making enough money to pay the bills, the business will fail. Fail to recognize needs people fulfill from working. And it's making money, it's having benefits. There's also a social aspect. Are you helping people in your job? Are you helping other people get their jobs done? If you understand that, you can help people be more effective at their work. And failure to establish and adhere to standards that can help you make all of these happen. So in planning and organizing, one really important thing is a business plan. The Bozeman School District has a business plan that's been in action for about 15 years. It was done with a look at what, if their district could be perfect, what it would look like, and how you start moving the district in that direction, knowing that not all of it happens every day. And then each year they pick about 3 major points, and then 2 to 3 major points for the district. And then each school picks a point that they're going to work on for that year. They set goals, they designate resources, they put plans in motion, they select measurements, and they measure at the beginning, at the end. And then that is evaluated by the district as a whole to look at how the district's doing. And the school board visits each school every year to find, and each major department to find out where they are and how they did on the goals last year. What were the highlights? What are some needs they weren't able to fill? Having a vision. What does the business want to be when it grows up? If you're looking at starting a business, and in this case, it's going to be 1 to 3 of you and a team that are going to decide on a business. And you have to think about, what's it going to be when I first start it, because I don't have a lot of resources. And as I grow it, what do I think it's going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Are there specific objectives that help you move in that direction? And what is the path to get there? You can't be successful overnight in most cases, but you can build a path to success. And that is the purpose of planning. One approach is seize the moment, grab that opportunity when it first reveals itself. So I'm going to ask you to reflect on the management errors in this frame of reference. This will be one of your attendance activities for the week, and it gets added to a homework assignment under discussions to look at these management errors on the list, to think about them in terms of the class rules, the class expectations that you set up, and how you might create expectations in your business to help you avoid some of these management errors. So in order to plan and organize, the first thing you need to do is come up with a mission statement or vision. Some people have 2 separate ones. Some combine them. Either one is okay. And for the first cut at this, we're not looking at anything fancy. We're just asking you to get some information down. You have to think about your values. So examples are customers first and safety. What are the values of your organization? What is your market niche? How do you fit in? If you were going to start an FBO at Gallatin Field, for example, what is the niche that's not unfilled that you can fill? What are some goals you could have to be successful? As your company develops, you create a history and background, and that includes all the history and background of the people that are coming to the organization. I know one small company, it has over 100 years experience with just a few people who are top experts in the field. What are the products and services you're going to provide? Doing a marketing analysis before you actually invest the money in the business, you should make sure that there's nobody else out there doing the exact same thing you're doing, and that there's actually a need, a want, a desire in the community for those products or services. And from there, you can create a marketing plan, because if nobody's ever heard of your business, they are not going to come. If you build it, they will come, but first you have to put out a sign. So when you begin developing a mission statement, you start very simply. What will your company do? How will it do it? How will this be different? How are you going to stand out? And why does your company do it? So for your homework assignment, you are going to be coming up with a simple mission. Here are some examples of missions. It doesn't have to be fancy. We'll be looking at polishing this later as further along as we go on in the semester. So other things you need to think about in planning and organizing. What is your strategy? What are your objectives? Basically, what is the path? Where are you going to, and how are you going to get there? What is your growth strategy? Because as companies grow and change, it does cause a disruption. It's called storming. People sometimes get unhappy because things aren't the way they were. And it's something you have to plan for. How are you going to get past that? Operations production plan. How are you going to run your operations, and how are you going to grow them to meet the demand? What is your marketing going to look like? How are you going to pay for it? Who's going to do the work? Your financial information planning. If you are not setting some baselines and collecting information and planning based on measurements of everything from money to how many flight hours, I mean, even things like if you're tracking your mileage on your aircraft, the fuel per hour, that can tell you if you've got some issues with your aircraft as well, if it maybe needs to be moved a little ahead in the maintenance schedule. Who are the personnel and what are they going to do? Legal requirements and liability, management and management information systems, functional schedules, maintenance and facilities. We're going to be exploring all these through the semester because all of these are a piece of operations as well as a piece of management under the planning and organizing. So your homework that is due Friday is to develop your team, whether that's one person, 1, 2, or 3 people, and pick an idea of what products and services you would be providing. And so it has to provide at least 3 products and services. And the business has to be big enough that it will have at least 3 employees 3 years from now. So as a sole proprietor, you can always start the business yourself, but we need it to be something that's going to grow and not just be something you do in your part-time. So this is going to be a full business. From this point forward, once you've chosen what your business is and who your team is, you need to explain to me why you want to change if you're not going to go forward. You won't be able to do half the plan on one business and half on the other. The final product that you turn in at the end of the semester has to be cohesive. So if you change your business idea, you're going to have to go back to day 1 and redesign all of the items that go into your final business plan. And when you do an item, a homework assignment or attendance activity that is based on your business plan, only one person needs to upload it, but it must have the names of all the team members. And make sure, because last spring we had some people who thought the others in their team had uploaded it. So make sure that someone is responsible for uploading that assignment, or all of you lose credit and get a late point on it. So again, that will be uploaded in PDF format under week 3 assignments, simple mission. So this is what you will have on there. The names of your business team members, again, 1 to 3 people, your initial products and services, at least 3, and a simple mission statement. You'll be polishing it later, but this is the basic information. What will your company do? What are the products and services? How will your company do it? And what makes your company different? And why does your company do it? So that is the homework that pulls from this activity. And then next up for our second operations management video for day 1 is looking at directing, coordinating, and controlling. Looking at managing versus doing, your style of problem solving, and delegation. So thank you all very much. We will head on to video 2. Make sure you take a break. Make sure you have done the reading, which hopefully I will have posted by Monday morning. And watch this before you do the homework. Have a great day.